Good morning. It is Wednesday, December 9th. I took a little break from posting videos over the weekend and it's just been a busy few days. So I'm back and I'm going to answer the questions that you asked me over on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram but you want to ask questions in the future for a Q&A, go follow me. It's just at Nishat Win, and I will put a little thing right here and the link down below. And let's get into the Q&A. These questions are in no particular order, so I'm going to start with, who is your favorite cousin? And my answer is the person that wrote this question. How are you liking the Mark II for filming? So if you don't know, I'm filming on a Canon G7X Mark II. It is an older version of the newest one, if that makes sense. So they're currently at Mark III, and I was reading reviews for the Mark III and it just didn't seem as good as the Mark II, weirdly enough, for vlogging. And so I think people had issues with either sound or autofocus, which is really important when you're vlogging. So I picked the Mark II. I love it. There is kind of a crop factor, which means that when you're taking a picture, it's a much wider lens, but when you start recording, kind of crops the top and the bottom. So there is that, but I feel okay about it. Someone asked, are you still doing yoga? And they said, I miss our sweat and soul sessions. So I used to do yoga many years ago. I am currently not doing yoga. I find that pre-recorded workout videos just don't work for me. So the exercise I do now is just walks with my dog, hikes with my husband and dog, and I do these live 305 workouts with my friend and instructor, Amit. And she's on Patreon, so if you want to join me and do the dance workout classes, I will also leave her Patreon link down below. I love them. They're so fun and they're live, so you can like write comments and kind of like interact with the instructor while it's happening, which is really nice. Someone asked, what are your favorite recipes to cook or bake in the winter? And I will leave Sally's Baking Addiction blog down below. That is my favorite baking blog. I know that I can trust her because she tests all of her recipes. Going online and just like looking for a recipe, not always the best, because some people don't test their recipes properly or they just don't know how to write a recipe properly and measure it out. But I love Sally's Baking Addiction. It's so detailed. There are always pictures or videos that accompany the recipes, which is really nice. Love her gingerbread man recipe. I also recently made a beef stew in my Instant Pot that I will link down below as well. And then I made mac and cheese at Thanksgiving and it was so good, and I will link that below too. If you guys have any great recipes for me, please, please, please leave them down below. I always want to cook new things and I always want to try new things, especially because of COVID. I've been trying a lot of new recipes. Someone asked, if you couldn't be a teacher, what would you be? And I love this question. When I was younger, I really thought that I was going to be an interior designer. I would watch Extreme Makeover Home Edition and be obsessed with like the transformation, and it was very emotional for people to like have a new space. And I still love like arranging my furniture and doing room makeovers. So I feel like interior designer, but now I also feel like I would probably pour my heart and soul into like Instagram and creating content, because I love doing that too. This question is really hard. It says, what is our education system's biggest flaw and what's your opinion on how to fix it? And I'm only going to speak for the American education system, because I think the biggest flaw is that we don't value our teachers enough, and we don't understand, or the general population doesn't understand, what teachers do every day. And it's just taken for granted. I think at the beginning of COVID, when people locked down, people realized like, oh snap, we just take education for granted, childcare for granted, what teachers do for our kids for granted, what schools do for children for granted. And so I feel like we need to be spending more money on education. I do think that that's possible, and I think it's within the budgets of like states and the federal government, but we just need to be paying teachers more, is honestly how I think we can fix it. The last question, oh wait, I have two more. Okay, this question says, what's been your best year, calendar or age, and why? This is really funny because my birthday is January 10th, so like calendar and age are kind of the same thing, which is kind of nice because I can look back on my life based on the year. My best year? Oh my goodness. I feel like this is really hard. I'm very thankful that I feel like my life just keeps getting better and better, and so I don't really know how to answer this. But yeah, honestly, everything just keeps getting better, so I'm praying that like every year is my best year yet. And I know that's a really cheesy answer, but it's honestly the truth. Okay, last question. I saved this one for last, and it says, do you have any great remote learning games or tips for first and second grade? Which is awesome because I am a first and second grade math specialist. And so I wanted to end this Q&A with some ideas about what I do to teach math online. I made a list, don't worry. The first games I want to talk about are ones for building community. I really think this is important. I have been teaching remotely since March, which means that my kids in September have maybe never seen me before in real life, have never walked into the school before either, which is insane. So I do a lot of community building games even this far into the year because I think it's really important. Some of the kids just have a hard time making friends. It's really hard over Zoom if you're new, or it's just really hard if you're in a new class and you don't have friends. So I play this detective game, which I've made a reel about before, but you just pick a detective and then send them to the waiting room. And while the person's in the waiting room, everybody else decides on an it person. And the it person starts doing a movement and everyone copies, and they just like keep switching their movements. You let the detective back in and then they guess who the it person is. A lot of people play this like in real life and they just send their kid out the door. Totally works on Zoom too. I have never seen kids more engaged on Zoom than when I play that game. I also have a couple that I got off of Teachers Pay Teachers, and most of these are free, I'm pretty sure, but they're from a woman called Mrs. Kids Creators, and she makes these awesome morning meeting games. One of them is called Toot or Boot, and basically the kids just thumbs up or thumbs down their favorite music, and you play different songs. It's really cool. And then I also downloaded something called This or That, and it's just like would you rather questions, like would you rather eat Cheetos or regular potato chips, and the kids talk about it. And then the last one is called In Our Class, and it's kind of like superlatives. So it asks the kids like who's most likely to become famous, and they are really sweet to each other and just give great reasons, and it's a great opportunity for them to talk, which is nice. Specifically about math. In the beginning of the year, I did a lot of roll the dice activities, and let me get my dice. So I found this roll the dice graphic online, but you could totally make your own. Basically, every number on the dice is a different movement. So I would pretend that the kids were rolling the dice, so I'd like give it to them over Zoom. I'm like, here, take this dice. And they would pretend to roll it at home, and then I would roll it. And I'd be like, you got a 5. That means everybody does 5 push-ups, and they love that. So engaging. Pretend that you're giving them something on Zoom. It's very funny. I've also recently started using boom cards, and you can find some of these on Teachers Pay Teachers for free, or you can make your own, but they're really fun, and the best thing I do is fast pinning the game because I don't want kids to have to sign in to a new thing. So basically there's an option where you click fast pin and it gives you a link, and they can just go on and play the game. It's kind of like slides, but interactive, and it tells them when they're correct or wrong. So they can't move on until they're right. I came up with a Google slide called Bears in a Cave, and you can play this in real life too, if you're in a hybrid or a fully in-person model. There's like as many bears as you want, and then a little cave where they go in, and I ask the kids to count how many are out, and then they close their eyes, and I put some in the cave, and they open their eyes and they tell me how many are in the cave. And this is really good because I feel like whenever they have to do something on the other side of the screen physically, it helps keep them engaged, and it's like a game. So we talk about that. We write the number sentence sometimes. We do a number bond. So many opportunities with that in both first and second grade. The last thing I want to say is that I use Whiteboard, the website, almost every single day. You can upload like screenshots of worksheets to it and see what the kids are doing in real time. Similar to, I think, what TeacherMade is. I haven't used TeacherMade a lot, but I know that you can kind of see what they're doing. So that's all I have for now. I know a lot of my colleagues are starting to explore Nearpod, which is also really exciting. I have not yet used Nearpod for a lesson, but I do know that it was developed by teachers or former teachers, so it is a very useful tool, and a lot of things have been thought through for teachers and students in mind. Hopefully that was helpful and you learned something. Let me know your favorite recipes down below for the winter because I, again, would love to try them out. Thanks so much for watching and I will see you guys next time. Bye.